Welcome to the Husk Guys Podcast. Oh, yeah!
What is up, everybody? It is October 3rd. It is Thursday night, and Huskers are back again. We were not back. We were not back last week, and we're back again this week. We're all the way back, completely all the way back. We're going to be bringing you some Kool-Aid tonight. We've got a lot of really good stuff covering the Purdue game recap heading into Rutgers week. So we got a lot of good stuff to talk about, a lot of good stuff to get through. How we watched the game, where we watched the game, what happened, our key insights that we found, and also we're going to break down a little Rutgers action for you. Before we get started, I need you guys to check out huskguysstore.com. We got a lot of cool hats, shirts, run the ball gear, GBR gear. There's no place like Nebraska, pipeline jerky stuff. And also check out pipeline-jerky.com. Every bag you purchase supports the offensive line, who's playing pretty well despite the unbelievable injuries that are happening right now. Playing pretty well. We'll get into it, break it down. But I really feel like the offensive line has been improving, and I think it's because you're buying jerky. So buy some pipeline jerky.
Direct
correlation between buying some pork jerky as well as getting some run the ball gear, all the good stuff. huskguysstore.com, pipeline-jerky.com. And with that, let's talk about Purdue. Andrew is with me, my brother. Hello, how are you? And happy Thursday night.
Yeah, baby. On to Rutgers week. This is one that's had me a little bit worried. Since before the season.
Let's not start with bad vibes. We'll start with good vibes. As we won.
I didn't even finish my sentence. But no longer.
No longer. Five are good.
Longer. I found some absolute gold mines in the statistical deep dive, and I'm going to scatter them across the earth here tonight.
I like it. Here is I was thinking about how to start this, and I was thinking about this is interesting because perspective is everything with this Husker team because everyone is so broken from so many bad teams. I feel actually great about our performance against Purdue, and here's why. Because we had my son and daughter both had soccer games during the first part of the first half. So I missed most of like the atrocity of the first half, of which, it's kindergarten soccer. So I was running the sidelines and I was checking, the, ESPN scores, and I was checking the text.
We were playing kindergarten football. So
kindergarten football. But when you have that perspective, and I was hitting refresh and I was like, still 0-0. This is weird. Still 0-0. But I wasn't like experiencing live, like what everybody else, like the unbelievable frustration that every single person that watched. And so then, then I was watching on my phone on like the ride home from soccer, and I was like kind of in and out, but like not quite focused yet. So by the time I got like fully into it, focused, second half, we really started to play well. I was like, this team's good. You put up 28 points in the second half. We got a pick six. The offense looked great. And then later, the next day, I went back and rewatched the first half. And if you rewatch the first half after knowing we're going to win without the stress of thinking we're going to fall on our faces to the worst team against the Big Ten, first half actually looked pretty good.
You just watch the halves in reverse.
But then, like, if you watch the Husker game, like after knowing we're going to win, like watching,
you can dig a lot more positives out.
Watching in the heat of the moment, thinking this is going to be our like 900th straight loss to a team that we should beat, not that fun. But watching in reverse, I was like, I don't know, this team's pretty good. We moved the ball pretty well.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't an issue of moving the ball. It was an issue of the ball crossing the line that we needed to cross, and crossing through the uprights we needed to cross.
Didn't do that. Yeah, not a strength. But then let's get into it. So the best thing I saw that summarized it, besides what I just did, which I think was perfect, is so Mitch Sherman, friend of the pod, is I think I'll just read this, but for those not watching, so Nebraska's been here before with an imperfect team that brings out the fear in its fans that it's all going to careen off the rails after a bad possession. Correct? Everybody felt that. Or a missed call or a mistake on special teams. We all felt that the entire game. Absolutely 100%. Its fans may be missing the reality of college football because Nebraska has been out of the national conversation for so long. Aside from the top 4 to 5 established powers, this is what you get. And he went on to basically say, like, most teams are flawed, very flawed. Huskers fit into that group. Some teams show growth during a season, some get better, some get worse. But like, if you do watch football, the rest, like throughout the rest of the day, which that's the only thing that gives me like, it helps bring down my like the anxiety on the team is, you're like, you watch us, you're like, this is bad football. This is bad football. This is bad field goal kicking. It's sloppy. It's bad tackling.
Right.
But then if you watch the next game, you're like, wow, Wisconsin doesn't tackle well either. And, also like, Rutgers Washington was kind of an ugly game. And like, we'll get into the Washington game, but Washington missed 2 chip shot field goals to lose that game. And so like, you kind of watch across every other game and you're like, all right, everybody else kind of misses tackles too. And they miss field goals. And like, so then it becomes this game of like, you kind of just got to grind these games out.
Yeah. I'm not a huge proponent of like the whataboutism and just like the like, well, we do it, but it's fine because they also miss field goals. Like, at the same time, it doesn't make it more fine, but it does make your perspective like, okay, yeah, it's college football. We love it for its imperfections. But I'm so excited to see those imperfections get washed away at some point in your life. They won't get entirely, but
yeah. I mean, I think there's different spectrums of it because there is like, if you watch the Alabama-Georgia game, it's like they're playing a different sport altogether. I mean, they're on such a different stratosphere of talent.
You could also argue like, what the hell was that? What happened to SEC defense? And
true.
So like,
on both sides,
defenses are not loving watching that tape.
Their talent's incredible, but I think most of the other teams are imperfect teams that like you can beat. Like every other, besides maybe Ohio State on our roster, like or on their schedule, everybody else looks like has plenty of flaws that we do too. So I think that, I don't know, that to me exists like right at the outset. I think the second piece, which I also put in here, was the perspective of a Husker fan too, where, I tweeted this like right away, was there's immediately like, everybody's like, oh my gosh, that was a poor performance, which, hey, we did not play our best football game, like by any stretch. But we are 4-1, and the last 3 seasons, 2023 we were 2-3. Actually started 2-4 last year. 2022 we were 2-3. 2021 we were 2-3. 2020 we were 1-4. So there is an element of like, you have to pause and be like, all right, these last 2 games definitely have not. I think we were spoiled because we watched the Colorado game, and that was the best first half of football we've played in 25 years. And then for us to not come out and do that again against Illinois and again against Purdue, I think it's killing people. It's killing me too, to be perfectly honest. But like, I'm trying to take a little perspective, be like, all right, we are 4-1.
Honestly, it's kind of awesome by Husker fans that, I mean, to some degree, that we still have like that expectation of, essentially near perfection, maybe a little bit overly competitive with ourselves sometimes, but like the fact that, we've played nearly a decade straight of like losing football. And the fact that people are like, this just is not our standard it's
good.
It's awesome because like, I agree, but it kind of has been. And so we need to like keep trying to punch above our weight and punch above until all of a sudden, like, you are the giant that's in the ring. So I'm glad friends still do have that perspective and still want to take it to that level. But I think as we've seen now, the issue the last 2 games has been that with those flaws exposed, I think there's this like feeling of, oh no, here we go again. And like for each chink in the armor, we feel a little bit more unsettled here. So that's kind of all there. I don't know. I guess that's all.
I think it's all,
especially knowing that we're going into the harder second half. But
I think
everyone would have like. I think most of people probably should be happy with 4-1.
Yeah, I think you're happy with it. I think it is. I was sort of laughing at like Damon Benning's been. I enjoy listening to him because he has a good perspective on things. But he's like everybody's just complaining. He's like, everybody complained in the Colorado game because we scored 28 points in the first half and didn't score any points in the second half. It's like, now everybody's complaining in the Purdue game that we scored 0 points in the first half, 28 points in the second half. He's like, well, what do people want? Like they've won 4 games by 3 scores each. And I think he's saying that facetiously. The element, like the problem is this is the one that we keep coming back to. I think we've had 2 guests on that have been like, what is what is Nebraska's expectation?
Yep.
And I think the expectation is just good football. And I think Nebraska football fans know what good football is, and we know that we're not watching good football.
Yep.
We're watching mostly good football, but like the hard
I'll take
thing
mostly good.
yeah, but the hard thing is, I mean, that first half was bad. Like looking back on it, we did move the ball. The missed field goals are atrocious. Like the special teams is bad. Like that's a really tough first half to watch. But I do want to jump into a couple things. So I guess I want to start with like the macro perspective of like, all right, I think things are, we're an imperfect team. We're 4-1. I wish we were 5-0.
Chill out. We're 4-1.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we were 5-0. Next three games.
Be 5-0.
Yeah, Rutgers is 4-0. Indiana's 5-0. Indiana and Ohio State's now 4-0. I guess that was an old tweet, but yeah. So we got some stuff going on. But here's a couple things that I wanted to ask, just like on the game itself. First half wise, I'm like kind of cherry picking here a little bit, but Rail is far and away our best player. So that's correct. I mean, that's not a question. That's more like a statement.
Offensive MVP, I would say.
I mean, he's incredible. Do you like the Harburg plays and like the way that they're using him in the offense?
I think like situationally, yeah. The thing that got me with Purdue and why I thought we actually might see a little bit more is that both Oregon State and Notre Dame, like one of their strengths is having a running quarterback. So I thought we actually might get Harburg in there for like some kind of specialty series. I want to see him more actually like around the goal line.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we been inside the 3 this year and been like, I don't know if we're going to make this. And then like we send Rail on a rollout pass or something crazy. And it's like, that might be a time where you want to roll them out a little bit more. But it was interesting to see us throw a
wheel route,
almost like a wheel route.
He was in the backfield
to a former quarterback.
Yeah,
that's
So I guess I mean the broader question.
I was like, I'm thrown by a little bit.
The broader question, I tweeted this out and we got a lot of like good interaction on it. It's like, what do you think of Satterfield? And I actually said, I believe this. I think he caused a pretty fun game. Like I think you've got he's got his quarterback. He calls a fun game for Ayola. I think Nayor and Banks are world class right now. Are playing extremely well. Barney is borderline freshman All-American at this point. And he gets them the ball. He gets Barney the ball in the backfield. He's got him rolling out. He's got Nayor. He's got Banks. He's got all sorts of fun stuff going on. I just don't know if he errs on the side of cute a little much. And I asked the Harburg question because of that, of like specifically, right? You had the wheel route out of the backfield, and they're like, all right, should we be throwing wheel routes to him or to Emmett Johnson or to Nayor or to Banks or to Barney or to Jalen Lloyd? Like, should Harburg be catching that? And like Harburg came in on the 4th and 1 of the first drive, and they're gonna run the Wildcat with them. There's a false start, which happens because you bring in a new quarterback, new cadence. Yeah. They false start, miss a field goal, and that ends up being potential issue there, right? Like, and then on the goal line, we ended up scoring later in the game. Kind of same thing. He brings in Carter Nelson.
Yeah, it took us.
I get it. Carter Nelson can jump really high. Like I'm sure they saw it. He's a high jumper in high school. Like all those things. Like I'm sure all of those things played into their minds.
Yeah,
but
don't get me wrong. It'd be awesome if he came in and did the high jump. But
yeah, I mean, if he perfect. Yeah, it's like
he did like a full back bend and just went over
full
the bar.
back bend and just like he,
I mean, how great would that be?
It's every one of those kind of plays. You're like, if it works, you're a genius. If not, like, okay, what are you doing? And I'm sort of each of these plays, like the wheel route didn't work. They got pass interference call on it. Great. He was a false start because he kind of came in off the sidelines. They're just a little bit clunky. And then you give the ball to Carter Nelson, who's, on a third and 1 with the first carry of his career is a game. It's like that was kind of an important touchdown. Right. And you're going to give a freshman his first carry. I don't know. It kind of errs on the side of like a little too cute.
Yeah. Are we just way overthinking this?
Yeah, but it's cool. It's fun. I mean, that's what makes it fun. I guess that balance of being like, it is fun.
Yeah.
I think
we've been pretty solid at moving the ball between the 20s. I think I kind of been questioning him like closer to the red zone. I mean, Rail has done a good job of like finding people. He did it again versus Purdue and threw into Banks, Nair, one of our studs.
Nair. Touchdown.
And I mean, I'm just I guess more of that like traditional mindset. Like you ram the ball into the end zone when you get inside the 5, and you do it like 4 straight times.
Yeah, and if you can't do it against Purdue too, it's like, all right.
Right. And we weren't, and it was just like those were kind of frustrating, those first 3 play calls, because it was like you've got like there is no way Purdue's holding us out of the end zone right now, right? But he like at the same time, my positive spin would be that like we have almost a plague of playmakers. Like he has this issue where he's got too many people to try to get the ball to. I mean, Carter Nelson, like next year, I mean this year too, you're gonna want the ball in his hands. Fedoni, you want the ball in his hands. Barney, you want the ball in his hands. Nair, Banks,
Jalen Lloyd.
Dowdle,
Jalen Lloyd. Jalen Lloyd has
like,
one catch in 5 straight games. Every catch is for 20 yards.
It's just an immediate 20-yard gain. I mean, so you have this like plague of just like, it's just a lot of mouths to feed, I guess. And so I think that's where some of this cuteness comes from. But some of the play designs have really been nice. I mean, watching like the way that they've got it to Barney, there's just small enough twists that have been keeping them guessing a little bit. I mean, a double reverse, we're pitching the ball out, looks like it's going to Dowdle and Barney taking it around the outside. So, I mean, they're clearly trying to game plan for our playmakers. And that part of things is definitely exciting because we just have not had that in several years where it's like, where people don't actually know which playmaker is going to get the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was listening too because I listened to like Rule in the press conference afterward, and I think you went on a radio show too and talked a little bit about this because the first half was very clunky, obviously, and it's like what everybody's really focusing on because of, the missed field goals. We got to talk about that in a second, but the offense felt clunkier than it actually was if you go back and rewatch it because they had 5 pass interference calls, right? 5 pass interference calls on Purdue in the first half alone. And an offensive pass interference on Purdue. So they had 6 pass interference calls on them, but the 5 pass interference calls were like basically because Rule said going into the game, they loaded the box. They had 9 guys and they wanted to stop the run. And so it was like they had single coverage on the outside. So we just kept throwing fade routes to Nair and Banks. But like when you're not catching them, I think the offense doesn't flow as like smoothly now. So it's like pass interference, move forward, pass interference, move forward, pass interference, move forward. And like, it felt like he wasn't completing a lot of passes. But I think it was a good game plan in the sense that like, it's Barney along the outside, like you're spreading them out, you're stretching the defense east-west as opposed to north-south and then throwing fade routes and they're getting these pass interference calls. So I don't know, upon rewatching it, it was frustrating mainly because you have 2 missed field goals and then the phantom holding call on Fedoni. So you're realistically like should have been 13-0 going into the half. Do you then score 28 in the second half? Maybe not, but like you're sitting at 41-0 or 41-3, and people are probably a little bit a little more pleased with that. That phantom holding was ridiculous on Fedoni.
The reffing in general, like we don't need to spend too much time on it because my head will explode. It's half the time they're just calling things that like neither team would honestly care about. Like, there's things that it's
calling like downfield wide receiver blocking. Like,
if it's blatant, I get it for sure, duh. But like, there's some that even Rule you could tell like they would pan to the sideline, like they were on Purdue, and we're just kind of like, okay, thanks, but like. And then they came right back and would call us for something just crazy. So like 11 penalties to 13. I mean, it was a flag fest. It's like that kind of football is just like frustrating to watch. And the refs need to just, God, chill out. I mean, like have a beer before the game and just like take it down a notch.
Well, just let them play. It's like that, it's one thing if, the left tackle is a tackle on a guy that can't catch at the quarterback. It's another when like, Barney's 15 yards downfield and Banks is blocking someone like on the other hash, and you're like, oh, that's a penalty. It's like, not really. It's like, those are bad. But we got to talk about the field goals because that is,
hot topic.
What are we doing?
Yeah, gosh, poor Hole kind of gets thrown into a rough situation, I guess, but you got to kind of be ready. Like, You were recruited here to be a kicker, and just missing to start with. Second of all, like the snaps.
I bet the holds are
I mean,
bad.
it's just crazy that like, okay, Hull misses one, and you go out the next time, and it's like, all right, guys, let's get this right, because like at that point you're tuned in, right? The special teams, you got to be like, all right, we got to make up for what we just did, and then just get it. I mean, he drilled it like into someone's face. It wasn't even a hand that blocked it. And then the next one, another bad snap and another low kick, and you're just like, it's just shocking that they wouldn't like almost take it up another notch and kind of say, all right, we're all focused. We're all locking in. We're doing our jobs because we're not going to miss three.
I mean, it is like I don't even. It's just it's astounding to me, and it's one of those things that's like I hate even talking about it. Like I was listening. I think it was Bo Rude talked about this. He's like, we never even during his whole tenure. He's like, we never even talked about special teams because it was just a thing that happened. It was like we just made kicks and we punted the ball, and like it was just a thing. You punt the ball, they catch it. Like it was a non-thing. The fact that I'm now sitting here, I'm like, who's our long snapper? Like, I don't want to learn who our long snapper is. I don't need to care who our long snapper is. But I'm
If
sitting
you're
here
doing
like,
well, no one knows your name.
no, I shouldn't know anybody's name on special teams. But I'm sitting here now, I'm like, okay, who's our holder? And why can't he hold? And why can't our long snapper snap? Like he's on his full. The long snapper's got to be on a full ride scholarship, does he not? Like, what is his team?
And now
like?
now we're just like so over dissecting everything.
Wait, like you are getting your entire college education paid for to snap a ball 7 yards, and you can't do it. Like your entire education is paid for. Your parents have no debt. You have no debt. You have entire college education paid for. All you have to do is like 3 times a game and
Throw
15
it through
times
your
a
legs.
season, throw it through your legs to a guy
Yeah.
behind you. And you've managed to screw up like 8 times. What are you doing?
Yeah. And I mean, it's almost rare that like all 3 parts, the snap, the hold, and the kick go wrong. But we missed the kick on the first one with an okay snap, I think. And then we missed the snap and the hold and the kick. And then we missed the snap and the hold and the kick. So
and the miss in Illinois.
So it was like 8 out of 9 things went wrong in those 3 kicks.
But they're also not blocking anybody because if they like there's 9 hand like that ball, every ball is blocked by like 6 people. Like Purdue's running off the field. They're like, I got it. It's like, that every player is like,
even with a bad snap, sometimes you do see kickers that are able to like, all right, whatever, it's a bad snap, I can still get this in the air.
I mean, I just don't even know. Like, I'm sitting here, I truly, just like you, I feel bad for the kid. I'm like, he has kicked, like I posted this last week. He's kicked 3 field goals in his life.
Well, yeah. And he's missed 4 this year.
I'm saying at Lincoln Southwest, he made 3 He made 3 field goals in his entire high school career. Then he went to Iowa Western. He redshirted. He didn't kick once, and then he came here. And then we throw him in. So
he must have a heck of a leg because I mean they say
makes everything in practice.
Of course they're saying that, and like I would love to see the tape of it, but because I'm just not buying it. But we need him to make us a believer. And the hardest thing about this is that this game this weekend will be a close game. It's
100%.
And it will come down to who has a better kicker a lot of the time. I mean, against Iowa, that's going to be the case. Probably against Wisconsin, that's going to be the case. Probably this weekend, that's going to be. I mean, these are games in the Big Ten. It's not just the Big Ten. It's just college football. Like if you have a better kicker and you can get to the 30 and feel comfortable, that is an enormous advantage. And it changes what you do on third downs. It changes your decision making on fourth downs. I mean, so.
Well, we were going to go
figure it out, and I trust Ed totally. He's spent enough time in the small towns of Nebraska. He's been to every runza and diner in the state. I know that he's working hard. I saw them working on snaps at halftime. They were showing that we can get it right. It's just infuriating that it's been a decade-long problem.
It is so hard to watch. It makes it unwatchable. I mean, and that's the stuff that even though you finish the game, you score 28 points, and the team play well. If you're a Nebraska fan, you can't not think about that. All right, Colin, what's Colin got for us?
Jay says he lives He was at the Purdue game, and they rolled out the field goal unit for the third time. The two Purdue fans next to me started cheering. Ha ha! It was hilarious, but also sad.
Oh, Colin, thank you
I
for that.
can absolutely picture that.
Yeah, so
And
bad.
it is sad. They're probably feeling great if once that field goal unit comes out.
Oh shoot, wrong one. I'm gonna go
We
back.
can get it right, though. I know we can get it right. I know Alvano can make kicks. I know this whole kid can make kicks. I know we have a snapper on the team. We are a Division I football team that can make kicks. But certainly we've lost some confidence, and I would not be surprised if we see us going for
Just go for
on
it.
fourth down, like anything between the 25 and 40-yard line, just going for every fourth down.
Yeah, it's brutal. Well, all right, let's flip this thing back to
Yeah.
positive vibes.
There we go.
Let's talk about Mr. Rayola.
Let's do
So
it.
through 5 games,
God, he's good.
99 for 141. He's completing 70% of his passes.
Buddy.
1,200 yards of 9 touchdowns. And for reference, I tweeted this earlier this week. We threw for 1,600 yards and 10 touchdowns all season last year. So we have 9 passing touchdowns through 5 games. We had 10 all of last season. So quarterback has been improved. He also has he leads all D1 freshmen. So he's the best freshman in the country passing.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who's in second in that case. Like he carries the offense with remarkable poise. And that I don't have this picture, but I will say, here's the other. I don't know if you caught this. Do you know how many turnovers we have this year through 5 games?
Is it 1?
No, count them.
Yeah.
You can add them up. No, as a team, how many do we have as a team?
Oh, 3. Right.
Two interceptions.
Dowdle fumble.
Dowdle fumble on basically the second possession.
And two ridiculous interceptions.
Which, think about how insane it is that you can just rattle off all 3 of those.
Yeah.
Do you know how many we had through 5 games in 2023 last year?
God, that was the Jeff Sims experience.
Yep.
Which was not a good experience, for those wondering. I mean, God, we probably hit double digits.
So what's the biggest number you can think of?
I can think of some big numbers, but I'm trying to think off the top of my head because I think Minnesota was 3, Colorado was 3 or 4. I mean, 11,
10.
12?
10.
It was 10? Oh, Jesus.
3 this year. So you go from 10 to 3. 10 to 3. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
2024. So yeah, this year we have 2 interceptions, 1 fumble. Last year we had 5 interceptions, 5 fumbles. But we also it was something like 10 fumbles, 5 fumbles lost. So we actually fumbled 10 times, had 5 lost. Just atrocious. But that for Dylan to me
it's a
is
stark
like
improvement.
Everything changes when you're like, not only I was thinking about this a lot too. Like I always looked at quarterbacks like Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow and any of these guys and was like, these guys only throw 3 interceptions like their whole season. And that always blew my mind because even if you go back and you look at like Adrian Martinez averaged 12 to 15 turnovers a season every year. He had at least 12 turnovers all 4 years that he played, or 3.5 or whatever it was. And he had his worst was like 15 or 16 turnovers. So that's insane. He was basically averaging 1 to 2 turnovers every single game. And we're down to like 3 right now. So I think it's like we're nervous to talk about it. It's like, hopefully it doesn't like turn out of it, but he does such a good job, not just completing 70% of his passes, not just, moving the offense, but like it's a comfortable, he throws the ball away. He throws the ball away when he needs to. He leads guys in the right ways. It's a very cool, calm, comfortable way to run the offense. And I think with that, it's like, God, it kind of gives you confidence going into any game that you're at least going to be in it.
Yeah. And it's also kind of wild that like, just as a team, I mean, I don't think we've fumbled since the Dowdle fumble, knock on wood.
Rail has dropped a couple.
Oh yeah. Like where he
got
hit. Yeah.
He's like
back on those. So technically we haven't turned it over on a fumble, but
yeah, he's like dropped them.
Still, I mean, like that was a plague at running back last year. Like Harburg had several being a running quarterback and stuff as well. I mean, so the ball security has definitely improved. Like we can definitely take that as a positive. And I would say moving to the defense.
Let's do running backs first, and then we'll go defense.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well, so I thought this was a super interesting breakdown.
Yeah.
Last against Purdue, Barney had 4 rushes, 66 yards because he's just absolutely electric and he needs the ball. Yes. Emmett Johnson emerged 8 for 50. Dowdell went 9 for 21 with the touchdown. What did you think of that breakdown?
I am totally fine with Dowdle playing. I think I share the sentiment that like I don't know what it was. I don't know if Dowdle wore them down. I don't know if our O line started blocking better, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that EJ is far more elusive. And
Yeah.
like there is a difference between a running back that runs north south like Dowdle does and gets you yards and gets you 2 or 3 by running right through somebody and right up, just slams through that hole. There's a difference between like just for example, I saw the like Le'Veon Bell
That's
highlight
so.
reel
I was
the other day.
totally just. I was just. That's. I was just gonna say that's who EJ reminds me of.
I randomly just like saw it and I like forgot how good he was at just like kind of
Walking.
waiting and he's just like gone. And his patience is a little better, but his
Yeah.
ability to just like slip away and rule in chasing three, he was like, this guy is untackleable. And I was like, that's kind of a good way to put it. I mean, he's a little smaller, so you square up on him and you'll get him down, but like he's impossible to square up on. And we need that in our running game. Like we just can't seem to
Yeah.
open a big enough hole. But if you've got a running back that can say, all right, I just need a sliver of light.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dowdle took 9 carries for 21 yards.
Yeah.
Like you can't have that against Purdue. They gave up.
And that's the worst rush defense we're going to face all season.
Right. You can't keep doing that and just like running him into a brick wall. So I think that what we saw was that like EJ kind of took the opportunity and said, even if I don't have a big window,
Yep.
I'm gonna burst through whatever you do give to me, and that's like exactly what we need. So I think it's gonna become a share, like it's gonna be a shared backfield now. I don't think that anybody can possibly really see otherwise at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think Dowdell does. He ran really hard. Like the Colorado game is still kind of like sticking out to me. I thought he played really well
Yeah.
then. I thought the Illinois and Purdue, he's not been as
And
good.
Ramir has also been great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to have that you have 3 pretty good running backs. I think, I think EJ did separate himself a little bit in the last game, and it'd be dumb not to like feed him the ball. But I do think it's tricky because Ramir's done well, Dowdell's been well. They all like are very different, but they're also like none of them are like elite top end, no doubters,
Sure.
but they're all kind of good in their own kind of unique different ways. So it's definitely an interesting.
But I think that they could be an awesome one too. And Ramir has seemed to kind of separate himself almost in the passing game, but Emmett can catch too. I mean, like, I just don't see a reason to be holding him off the field. Dowdle has 60 rushes for 277 yards for a 4.62 average. Emmett has 21, so 1/3 as many for 174 yards, 8.29 average.
Yeah.
8 yards a carry. That's tough to keep
on 20 carries too. And
Andy
doesn't have
keep 8 yards per carry off the field.
Well, and he also doesn't. That's not really that skewed of an 8 yards a carry too, because he doesn't have like an 80-yard run that like skews the whole thing. That's an earned true like 8 yards a carry. Like each time he gets the ball, you're kind of like, oh, there's a little skimmy. There's a little 7, 8. There's 7, 8. There's another 8.
Yeah, and I really like. It's not that I have much against Dowdle because like he is a Big Ten style back that is going to like wear people down, 100%. But Emmett can just get he can just get a little skinnier in the hole, and he's just like he's kind of just one of those guys he gives you that extra juice that you're like, I don't know, it just seems a little more exciting when he gets his hands on the ball.
Yeah, it's just Dowdell makes like no moves. He's like.
He's a beast. He can pound the.
He sees a guy and he's like, I'm running him over.
Yeah. Dean Duval says Dante Dowdell is the right running back to use. He's a beast.
Thank you, Dean.
I don't think we're gonna stop using him. I just think we need a little more EJ.
Let's talk about this
defense. Oh yeah.
I think. I mean, I don't know.
Back and forth.
I think we're like pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the performance against like Purdue was super encouraging because they kind of did what they were supposed to do. this was not a good offense. Purdue's offense.
They
Like
fired Graham Harrell. You didn't see that? They fired him after the game.
Shut up.
Yeah, they fired Graham Hill after the game. They're like, nah,
The black shirts are getting people fired.
Yeah, this team is so bad. They fired him. He's gone.
Oh God, yeah, no, this was not a good offense to face. Like it really wasn't. And I don't know that it's all Graham Harrell's fault, that poor guy, but they did what they were supposed to do. They got a little bit more pressure on the quarterback. That was pretty awesome to see. They played really well in coverage, being down Tommy Hill, and that was also good to see. The only thing I think that I still have a knock on them, our pass efficiency defense is 59th. So they're completing like a little bit more than you would want. I think Purdue was 18 of 25, but it wasn't like explosive plays. Like they're keeping most of them in front of us.
Yep.
But on the bright side, I think you've now got a situation where Sierra Wright is playing his way onto the field.
He's playing well.
Yeah. He already has I think he has as many pass breakups as the rest of the secondary combined. It's like he's already got 3 in 2 games. He had a strip sack as well. Like you've got a secondary now. That's kind of the last thing that I guess, I'd like to see them buckle that down a little bit.
Yeah, I think, we've got the stat up here that says
if you get Tommy back with Sierra Wright, I think people are saying, okay, now we got something here.
I think I'm worried about Tommy though. I think he's in a lot of pain.
Right. And plantar fasciitis is not like just a quick overnight fix. It's like
they're saying he's game time decision again on Saturday. I'm like, I don't know. I don't love that. But I don't know. The defense is interesting because I think, you look at the Illinois game, and that was extremely disappointing. They carved us up. Illinois then gave Penn State a game. They were basically tied late in the third quarter. They were 14-7 late in the fourth quarter. It was, they were 2 or 3 plays away from probably tying that game up, and they ended up losing 21-7, I think it was. But they gave Penn State a battle, so they're probably not as bad as we think.
Sure.
But they game planned us perfectly. Illinois did. I'm saying the defense, we're getting gashed. It's concerning to think, is Rutgers going to be able to do the same thing?
Right.
But they're still, on what matters. And I know we haven't played maybe the best talent, but we're giving up 12.2. We're in the top 10 for points allowed. Colorado's put up 42 points a game every game except for that against us. We have this potential to shut down teams and really frustrate them and get in the backfield. I had another 5-sack performance against Purdue. So the team can play. But they definitely
encouraging things going on, and the secondary has been just like a little bit up and down. There's some parts of it that are great, and I would say getting turnovers and forcing turnovers has been a little bit better this year than it was. I think we're +5 now in the turnover margin as well. So we've got playmakers, we've got guys that know how to do it. We've got Johnny Bullock, we've got Sierra Wright that is emerging as a force. I think people want to see Sierra Wright, Tommy Hill, that combination, probably getting Hartzog off the field. Really unfortunate. He's a black shirt. He's got a single digit, but he's
a liability.
We've got some concerns back there. He's
like
5'3". It's not even his fault. He's a great player. He's very scrappy.
A couple of things on the turnover. I saw Husker Wave had tweeted this out before the season. Nebraska's last pick 6 was 2019. I think that was Eric Lee, maybe, or was it CTB against Iowa? But then we've had 2 pick 6s in the last 4 games. We have not had a pick 6 in 5 seasons. We've got 2 in the last 4 games. Outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big time one. And then you just mentioned the turnovers, which we talked a little bit on the offensive side.
Yeah.
But the turnover margin through 5 games, last year gave up, -3 at Minnesota, -6. They were down 6 at Colorado, 6. I mean, we were -6 going into 5 games. And we've been plus, every game, plus 11. All right. On the differential from last year to this year, it's a massive improvement.
Yeah.
Both forcing turnovers and avoiding turnovers. And that's the difference between 2-3 and 4-1 is that.
Yeah. That's been Terrence Knighton's big challenge to the team he mentioned this week is like, let's go from that team that just, stops the run and gets the occasional sack to like, am I going to get a strip sack now? Am I going to change the game on its head? Am I going to start like completely turning things around instead of like, let's get stops. Let's actually take the ball away.
Yeah. It's working. I feel good about it. Climbing back up. We're getting some top 25 looks. So, all right. Do we pivot a little bit to talk about Rutgers a little bit?
Oh, baby. Yeah, I think so it's a game that like it can worry you on the surface, but there's some glimmers of light within the statistics here. So Rutgers has basically like they brought back Schiano and they have become a Big Ten team finally. Like they've been waiting years, but they are becoming a Big Ten team. They are masterful at running the ball. All they want to do is run the ball, and they want to play like solid, hard-nosed defense. He started kind of rebuilding the trenches. They are 18th in returning production on defense. They are 40th in returning production on offense. So they've got a veteran team that comes back. They've got the leading Big Ten rusher that is coming back. I think like there can be some fears on the surface level. The thing is, I don't know that they've played anyone great except Washington, and Washington went to town on their defense. So,
did you watch the game?
I watched the highlights.
I watched the game. It was nutty. Like,
yeah,
it was kind of the equivalent of the Nebraska first half against Purdue. Washington drove the length of the field every drive.
Yeah,
and they missed. So they missed the field goal.
Clear, this is a Washington team that lost everybody.
Yeah, they're not very good.
They're favored against Michigan this weekend.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. I put it like.
Regardless, yeah. I mean, they're supposed to be I don't know. They're probably in 7 to 9 win land in their preseason projections and stuff. But regardless,
they missed the field goal to tie the game.
Yeah.
So they lost 21-18. They missed the field goal to tie the game.
They missed 3 field goals.
They missed a field goal to make it. They missed 3 field goals.
3.
They missed 2 in the last 2 possessions. Oh, they missed 3 field goals. They did. They missed 3 field goals, but they also they had a turnover on downs in the second half,
mm-hmm.
fourth and goal on the 1, and they missed it. Like 3 missed field goals and a 4th and goal on the 1 yard line. I mean, it was literally that first half against Purdue. Or like, how is this team not?
Washington needs to be our warning. Like they need to be our hey, don't do this against Rutgers. They will win.
Well, and I think it's the positive side is, I think you're getting to it. It's like Washington had 520 yards. Like they were just absolutely torched them. I think Rutgers has 3 total sacks on the season. Like they have 3 total sacks. They're not going to get to Rayola unless something terrible happens. They give up the yards, but to Rutgers' credit, Washington drives the length of the field every single time, held them to a field goal, missed a field goal, stopped on 4th down, held them to, they are stingy enough to like frustrate the hell out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Washington went 2 for 12 on 3rd down. Like there's enough frustration there that they can cause.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have 521 yards and scored 18 points. That's crazy.
Yeah. They've struggled kind of, passing the ball. And I think that if I'm looking at like what Rutgers wants to do, I think it plays into the strength of our defense. Like, and then on conversely, when they're on defense, they're not good at stopping the run.
No.
And we need to be playing a team that is not good at stopping the run. So we've got some things that like just happen to play into our advantage. Like a couple things on this that you've got pulled up. They're 9-1 when scoring 22 or more points. So, solid defensive team. They hold them to less than 3 touchdowns. They win. They're 1-7 when throwing at least 1 interception since the 2023 season. And the good news is they do throw interceptions. They've got Ethan Kaliak-Manis. He's coming over from.
Can you believe he's there?
I can't. And he linked up with Kurt Sioroka, who was with him like at Minnesota.
Unbelievable.
As his former offensive coordinator. I believe actually might have beaten Nebraska. Anyway, let's not get into that.
I'll talk about that.
So that's good news for us. Nebraska is winless when when intercepting no passes since the 2023 season. So key to the win right there.
Wonder
Pick them off, get one more possession. Should be able to win right there. We're 1-5 when allowing 100 or more rushing yards since the 2023 season. That actually is probably more of the key. Like if our run defense can beef up a little bit, that's going to be all Rutgers wants to do.
Yeah.
They average running the ball over 45 times a game. They are a run-first team. They have the leading returning rusher in the Big Ten. They're built their entire offense around him, and if they're not throwing it to him, they'll flash it out to their tight ends in the red zone. That's how this team is going to need to. I mean, that's how you stop Rutgers. They had 3 possessions that they scored against Washington. 3. Every other possession was 4 or less plays.
Like 3 and outs. Yeah.
So they had 3 scoring drives. They were 10.
I mean, they're like
they were
Iowa.
running, and they beat them down. And then they just played enough defense to win the game. I mean,
they're literally like Iowa. They just like bleed you out.
Yeah, I mean, we clearly have like the more explosive offense. I think that we have the better defense. Our special teams is not better than anybody, but we should have enough separation in the game to be able to win it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was watching the game and I was like, God, this team has got they have the chance to like bleed us out. But also, the more you think about it, I was like, man, I mean, I don't like that they won all these games. They beat Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech played really well against Miami, so like Virginia Tech's not that bad. Transitive. Well, you're just like
those are 2 double loss for VTech.
Yeah, 2 decent wins in a row, but like Akron and Howard are terrible, so like I don't give them any credit for those. But yeah, I think I don't know. It'll be an interesting game. We're favored by 7. I was surprised. I thought they'd be favored, to be honest. Like, but I don't know. Vegas clearly sees something with us that they like. It'll be, but I don't know. It's stressful because it is going to be a 1-score game.
Pull up the next charts.
Yeah.
Get into this. This is an interesting thing where I was checking out and stuff here a little bit today. So, so if you look at these are our expected points against metrics. This is the entire Big Ten, and Rutgers actually does rank there a little bit above us. If you break it down into their running versus their offense versus their defense, it is the biggest weakness on the field between both teams ends up being Rutgers' run defense. They're 94th in expected points added, which is basically you take all the plays in the game and you say, does this play add up to a positive gain, get you closer to points or away from points? And they are 94th in the country in EPA against the rush. They're top 30 against the pass, but that is like between both teams, that is by far the biggest weakness on the field. And so that's, to me, like huge in our favor. We know Raiola is going to be able to throw, but like if you can feel a little bit better that we might be able to run on them, like Washington just did for over 200 yards at 7.1 yards per carry. Yeah, I think that opens things up for our offense a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. I like that. All right. There you go.
All right. Down to their defense.
Bam.
A little bit more on them. The other encouraging sign against Akron, their defensive woes started early. They had 25 rush attempts for 156 yards, 6.2 yards per carry Akron had, and a touchdown. Then Virginia Tech ran for 3 touchdowns on them, and an even higher average yards per carry. And then Washington ran for 207 yards and 7.1 yards per carry. So they're trending in the wrong direction for a team that is kind of built to be playing around the trenches. I think what they are going to do is there's going to be some openings in the middle of the field. I think they are going to try to bulk up on their rush defense and basically try and get Raiola into passing situations and get him into uncomfortable situations. Like that's tends to be the formula to beat us. That's how Illinois ended up playing us as well. They just like stop the run, force him into uncomfortable situations. I think we can run on this defense.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like didn't watch the first 3 games. I just watched this most recent Washington game, but yeah, Rutgers, and that's what's like so hard about this whole stretch is like Illinois, Rutgers, Indiana,
Yeah.
like all these guys they do not have the talent to match up with us. They should not. They don't
Yep.
recruit at the same level they do. Like they don't develop at the same level as we do. They don't have the transfer portal the way that we do. So it's like you should be able to line the ball up and play against them. It's not going to,
Yeah.
that's not the way it plays out because it's the Big Ten football and everybody's like directionally even with each other. But yeah, we should be able to run. And, Emmett Johnson should be able to tee off. And then you've got, Raiola to, do his thing.
Yeah. That. And then I think, again, like if Rutgers is going to be running it into the teeth of our defense, like Ty and Nash and Butler,
Yep.
I like to think that they can hold up on the other side of the ball. LaShawn Pryor, a quick shout out here. He's commenting, I'd love to hear your opinion on Tony White as defensive coordinator. He's doing a great job for the most part. What's your level of concern on him finding another job next season, considering he showed positive prowess in leading the Black Shirts? High would be my concern.
Very high.
I actually, like before the season, I thought that you bring in John Butler for a reason. I think that they were grooming him basically to be our next man up. John Butler always wanted to run a defense at the NFL level. That opportunity wasn't available at the Bills. They bring him in all of a sudden, and Tony basically almost took a job last year. That's normally a sign that like if he does well enough with this defense, he's charismatic enough, he's a motivator, he's out the door. Now, the only thing that would keep that from happening is if we have some concerning performances on defense, I think.
Like Illinois.
Yeah, like that maybe opened people's eyes and said, okay, hang on a second. But I don't know. I think he's done a good enough job in a hurry.
Yeah, I'll say that I was shocked he came back, to be honest. I mean, he interviewed for the UCLA job, and then he interviewed for like 2 or 3 jobs that I was shocked he didn't get. And then the only glass half full on keeping him is like offensive and defensive coordinators are paid extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot less stress. And like look at Chip Kelly goes to become the O coordinator at Ohio State. Like, can you is that maybe? I think he has aspirations to become a head coach, so probably not him. But it'd be a bummer to lose him. He's a great coordinator, but he's destined to be a head coach and wants to be a head coach. So it's I would be shocked if he doesn't get one this offseason.
On to let's see, Colin J. We need Nair to have a big game. Purdue did a good job of shutting him down by committing pass interference every time he threw his way. That's true. And part of that, I will say, is like you almost should be like giving out awards or something for drawing pass interference because he probably had 45, 60 almost yards of pass interference penalties. Like, keep going to him is all I'm going to say. He only had 1 catch against Purdue, and that was shocking. But like again, all those lost yards that are buried in the statistics are due to him, and actually some of our scoring drives are due to him basically drawing such ridiculous. I mean, for Purdue to have an old defensive coordinator as their head coach, their defense has no idea how to play defense.
They're bad. Yeah, it's crazy because you're like, is Braum that good, or is he just not that? He seems to be completely in over his head there. For them to like be losing the way they're losing in year 2, week after week after week, you're like, they do not seem to know what they're doing at all.
Good Lord. All right. Last stat drop I got is the next one here. So this is from Sharp Betting. They essentially have formulas that break down everything from your offensive ranking per your opponent, defensive ranking per your opponent, special teams ranking. Other big discrepancy I did not mention earlier: special teams ranking.
Oh,
I think that one was assumed. Rutgers is ranked 37th. We're 81st.
Oof.
Defensive ranking: Rutgers is ranked 44th overall. We are ranked 27th. But again, buried in that number is their pass defense. Been all right, but teams have been able to run on them. They're 94th in that EPA ranking. And then offensive ranking, surprisingly, they come in at 35, and we come in at 58. The thing I think that I guess is concerning there is just that is like it's our ability to run the ball that's holding that number back. Like our success rates running the ball is going to be the problem on offense, if anything. But it's not going to be because of Rutgers defense. It's going to be because of our own failings. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
Rutgers defense stops us if we execute well. I think they do stop us if we keep doing stupid stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's going to be just clean it up, a little less floppiness. God, I mean, just make a freaking field goal. But yeah. It's brutal.
What do you got for score?
So it's a 7-point line.
Yep.
44-point over under,
44.
which puts it at what's that put it at? I had just done the math earlier. Like
44 seems high.
What was that, like 24-17 or something, right? It's sort of the Vegas number, 27, 20, 47. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Somewhere in there is like where the Vegas has it at. I think that's close to accurate.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be one score game. I think we push, win by a touchdown. 28-21. No, that's too even. It's not gonna be even. There's gonna be something weird. Something wonk's gonna happen. 24-20. Huskers win by 4.
Yeah.
But I also, the Kool-Aid side of me is like, I don't know. Maybe it's like a Colorado level, like 28-0. I don't know. Like, realistically, this is gonna be like completely stressful and exhausting and gut wrenching.
You just went from like a 1-point win to a 28-point win.
Well, I think the realistic side is like, yeah, it's probably gonna be like 24-20. It's gonna be like so stressful. I'm gonna be screaming at my kids the entire game. But then the other part of me is like, I don't know, but maybe we'll be like, maybe it's the statement game and we're 5-1 going into Indiana, and like people are like, okay, this keeps good.
Yeah, stop the run the ball is going to be the name of the game. I think we've got a clear advantage in the passing. Like, if we break down everything again, our pass versus their pass defense, probably advantage us, but only slightly. Our run versus their run defense, our running's not that good. Their running defense not that good. That's the battle that you got to end up winning. Their pass versus our pass defense, I think we win. Their run versus our run defense, we will see. Their special teams, we won't talk about it. It really just comes down to, like, if we can shut down their only offensive weapon, their running game. The AK, the Greek rifle, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's got anything against us.
I agree.
He's been so overrated. He got run out of Minnesota.
Yeah, I think, it's setting up well for us. It's a home game. It's going to be hot. It's going to be warm. It's going to be sunny,
27-17.
Okay, I like that. Right in there.
Low scoring-ish. But
This is swag player of the week.
Pull away in the fourth. Last week, Ja'Cory Barney. He
what about I guess
when he flashed the peace sign, or actually I think it was a thumbs up.
Nah, it was peace sign.
It was a rather aggressive. I'm looking at it. It looks like an aggressive thumbs up.
That's peace sign.
But kind of either way, to do that on the 10-yard line as you are just striding past somebody, that's a swag player of the week play. And I think we found something in him too. Holy moly.
He can play. He can play.
There's certain guys you watch.
He's got it.
Like, they just, when he took off on his first carry of the game, it was like he's just hitting a different gear that no one else on the field has.
Yeah, he's got the wiggle. He's got the extra gear. He's got the the burst.
Could use probably 20 more pounds of muscle, and
yeah, he could, but also
he's gonna be bent in half.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, I mean, he gets crushed on some of these plays, but I mean, they're throwing these crossing routes across the middle. You're like, this guy's gonna die on the field. But if he gets outside, he's pretty shifty.
Yeah, he's tough.
Good one. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Check out husguysstore.com, pipeline-jerky.com. Get some jerky, get a cool shirt. Go Big Red. This is 5-1 would be fun. 5-1 would be fun.
Oh my God.
I would enjoy 5-1. Go Big Red.